In recent days, the situation around China and Japan has begun to change rapidly, turning from a local diplomatic dispute into something much more serious, what many in both the Pentagon and Beijing are already calling the gray zone of a new Cold War. It all started with what seemed like a routine episode when several Chinese surface warships passed between the Okinawa and Miyako Islands, demonstratively crossed Japan's exclusive economic zone, and headed toward the Pacific Ocean. According to Kyoto News, the Japanese Coast Guard recorded not just the presence of these vessels, but the execution of maneuvers close to combat operations. Sources in Japan's Ministry of Defense reported that the Chinese ships were accompanied by the reconnaissance vessel Xiangyang Hong 22, which, according to radio intercepts, was conducting underwater scans of communication lines. It all appeared to be a carefully planned operation to test Japan's surveillance systems and response readiness. In response, fighter jets were scrambled from Naha Air Base, and two SH-60K anti-submarine helicopters were urgently deployed to the southwest of the country. The situation has gone beyond routine patrol confrontations. According to the Japan Times, this marks the 331st consecutive day that armed vessels of China's Coast Guard have entered waters claimed by Japan. Analysts from Tokyo's Center for Strategic Studies call this an endless display of pressure. China, they say, acts systematically, not officially invading, but maintaining constant presence, forcing Japan to remain on edge and increase defense spending. Against this backdrop, joint exercises of Chinese amphibious groups in the South China Sea have intensified sharply, leading many to speak of preparations for possible maritime blockades, including near Japanese islands. In Tokyo, all this coincided with an important political development: the rise to power of Sanai Takaichi, Japan's first female prime minister, known for her strongly nationalist rhetoric. Her figure has divided Japanese society. Part of the elite expected her to take a hard anti-Chinese stance, yet Takaichi surprised everyone. Contrary to skepticism, she supported Beijing in its dispute with the United States over Donald Trump's newly imposed tariffs. At an economic forum in Osaka, Takaichi stated that tariffs should not be instruments of blackmail between great powers, and urged Trump to lift tariff pressure for the sake of global market stability. Her words quickly spread across Western media, from Bloomberg to The Guardian, where they were described as a historic example of Japanese pragmatism. But behind that pragmatism lay cold calculation, an attempt to restrain China from further escalation in the waters of the East China Sea. However, events took a different turn. Just a few days after her statement, Chinese research vessels reappeared in Japan's exclusive zone near Tokunoshima Island. According to Nippon News Network, one of the ships lowered a long metal probe into the water, presumably hydroacoustic reconnaissance equipment. The Japanese Coast Guard filed an official protest, but Beijing responded that it was acting within the framework of international maritime law. Behind the scenes, Japan's cabinet held emergency meetings with U.S. military advisors. A source cited by Asahi Shimbun claims that Washington viewed China's actions as a deliberate provocation and warned allies of the possibility of maritime clashes. Against this backdrop, Takaichi's rhetoric shifted dramatically. If just a week earlier she spoke of a balanced policy between China and the United States, she now declares the need to strengthen Japan's defense alliance with America. Internal sources cited by Nikkei Asia claim she is under strong pressure from the Ministry of Defense and intelligence agencies, which warn that China may use Japan's economic proximity as a lever of political coercion. Moreover, reports have surfaced behind the scenes that Donald Trump has already instructed the Pentagon to consider redeploying additional naval forces to the Japanese coast. The plan involves a multi-role strike group led by the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, which may be temporarily returned from the Indian Ocean to the Okinawa region. Insiders at Foreign Policy report that the White House views this move as a demonstration of determination to defend an ally and as a signal to Beijing of readiness for countermeasures. However, according to experts from the Rand Corporation think tank, such a redeployment could only worsen tensions. China perceives any appearance of U.S. forces near its shores as a threat, meaning it will respond symmetrically. Chinese media outlets, including the Global Times, are already publishing articles with sharp headlines such as "Japan once again under the U.S. umbrella," and Washington tries to turn Tokyo into a pawn of a new confrontation. Amid this rhetoric, the region is gradually becoming a theater of nerve games. The waters near the Senkaku and Miyako Islands are turning into a space where dozens of crossing encounters between Japanese, Chinese, and now American ships occur daily. According to satellite observations, at least 4 Chinese Type 052D destroyers and 1 large reconnaissance ship equipped for signal intelligence gathering have been spotted in the region over the past 3 days. Japan has increased patrols, deploying Mogami-class frigates and P-1 anti-submarine aircraft. Military experts from the Economist Intelligence Unit believe that if this trend continues, the likelihood of an unintended incident will increase dramatically. One mistake, one wrong course, could turn a diplomatic crisis into an actual confrontation. Meanwhile, concern is growing across Japanese social media. Users discuss nighttime aircraft flights, surges of activity at military bases, and troop movements. Some have even posted videos that allegedly show lights from Chinese ships near the Amami Islands. The government refuses to comment, but Tokyo's political circles are already saying that the region stands on the brink of a new era of confrontation. Reuters analyst Mari Koizumi notes that it may be between China and Japan where the next phase of global confrontation begins. Not a trade one, but a military-political one. If these forecasts are correct, everything happening now in the waters of the East China Sea is merely a prelude. The United States and China are edging ever closer to direct confrontation, and Japan once again finds itself caught between two worlds, balancing between diplomacy and the threat of a new Cold War. And perhaps, right here between Okinawa and Shanghai, something is emerging that years from now analysts will call the starting point of a new global standoff. According to sources from the Washington Post, U.S. intelligence has already intensified satellite monitoring of Chinese bases along the Fujian coast, recording unusual activity of supply and refueling vessels preparing to set sail. In Tokyo, rumors have surfaced that Beijing may deploy mobile dual-purpose radar platforms off Japan's coast, capable of functioning as both scientific and military stations. Several analysts from CSIS, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, assert that China is testing the limits of the new Japanese administration's patience, gauging how far it can go before triggering a counterstrike. Meanwhile, pressure on Trump is mounting in Washington. Republican congressmen are demanding that China's actions be officially recognized as a threat to regional stability and that an additional Marine strike squadron be dispatched to Japan's shores. At the same time, Chinese social media have seen a sharp surge in military propaganda. Videos of patriotic patrols near Japanese islands are gaining millions of views, accompanied by slogans such as, "The sea belongs to the East." Experts believe China is preparing the informational groundwork for further escalation of its presence in the region, attempting to justify potential clashes as responses to provocation. And there are more and more signs indicating that it is here, in the quiet waters of the East China Sea, where a new phase of the global political chess game is beginning, with each side having already made its first move.